You don't lay your hands on her, someone shouted from the back row, but it was too late. The slap cracked through the marble ballroom of the Harrington Grand like a gunshot. The black seamstress, 5'3" at most, pins clipped to a faded lanyard, staggered, her cheek flaming red. She didn't cry. She didn't yell. She simply steadied the fallen train of the bride's couture gown as crystal beads pinged across the parquet, the pianist frozen mid-chord, the florist clutching a spray of peonies like a shield. All eyes swung to the center aisle where Ethan Caldwell, a high-powered investor in a $1,000 tuxedo, stood over the woman he'd just struck. She blocked the aisle, he snapped, breath sharp. We paid for privacy, not to be harassed by staff. His bride, Sloane Harrington, ice blonde, veil like a snowfield, didn't look up from her phone. "Just get her out of here," she said, their words lacquered and brittle. The venue manager rushed in, careful smile trembling. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Caldwell. Miss Harrington. We'll handle this at once." But the seamstress didn't move. Instead, she slipped a hand into the torn hip pocket of Sloane's gown, the rip that started everything, and tugged free a small, worn leather card case, as if the dress itself had coughed up a secret. Her fingers shook, but her eyes stayed level. She set a single laminated card beside Sloane's untouched champagne flute and said, barely above a whisper, "You should read that." Sloane squinted, annoyed. Ethan snatched it first, and froze. The color drained from his face. Murmurs rolled through the guests like wind through wheat. On the card, Maya Caldwell, daughter. Emergency contact, Leonard Caldwell. Ethan's jaw twitched. This can't be real. Sloane's head tilted, sudden interest cutting through the chill. "Why does she have your last name?" Maya bent, gathering beadwork and tulle, ignoring the glass that nicked her palm. Blood bloomed into a linen napkin. The manager hovered. "Shall I call security or—" "No," Ethan said, voice thinned, the ID trembling in his fist. "Let her speak." Maya inhaled. "You don't remember." "But I do. If this is your first time with our stories, we'd love to have you. Tap subscribe, like if this moved you, and share your thoughts. We read every comment. To our returning family, thank you. What happens next will shake this room to its foundations." Gasps swelled in the ballroom like a storm breaking against glass windows. Sloane's mother, Vivian Harrington, clutching pearls that gleamed under the chandelier, whispered sharply to her daughter, "What game is this? Remove her before the press catches wind." But Sloane didn't budge, her phone now forgotten in her lap. Her icy eyes were fixed on the seamstress. Maya stood tall, though her cheek still bore Ethan's handprint. She reached into the same pocket of the torn gown again. This time, she drew out a folded photograph, its edges yellowed and soft with age. With steady hands, she placed it beside the ID. "Look closely, Mr. Caldwell," she said. Ethan's hands shook as he picked it up. His breath stuttered. The picture showed a man he hadn't seen in 2 decades, Leonard Caldwell, Ethan's estranged father, rugged and broad-shouldered, with a gray streak at his temple and coal-stained fingers. Standing next to him on the porch of a rusted Chicago walk-up was a little girl with the same eyes as Maya. Ethan's knees nearly gave. "Where was this taken?" he muttered. "Southside Chicago," Maya said, her voice clear. "He raised me after your family cut him out." "After he was erased?" Vivian gasped, horrified. "Impossible. Leonard never had children outside of wedlock. That man was a disgrace." Maya's eyes sharpened. "That's the story you chose to believe. The truth is, Leonard married a black woman, my grandmother. Your family called it shame. He called it love." Silence clamped down. Phones lifted. Guests shifted uncomfortably in tuxedos and sequins. The whispers were louder now, dripping judgment and disbelief. "I don't understand," Ethan said hoarsely. If he raised you, why now? Why here?" Maya's lips trembled, but her voice stayed steady. Because the man you struck today, the man you erased, died 2 months ago. Scrubbing a hotel floor owned by your company. And you didn't even know. The pianist dropped his hands into his lap. A woman near the back dabbed her eyes with a tissue. Ethan staggered, caught between fury and grief, staring at the blood-stained napkin in Meyer's hand. "Tell me where he is now," Ethan whispered. Meyer's gaze didn't waver. "Gone. Buried with nothing but the letters he wrote to you, letters you never answered." Her hand dipped into her apron again. She pulled out a bundle of unopened envelopes, frayed with time. She laid them on the table. Every year. Same address. Same hope. Until the day he gave up. Ethan reached for them with trembling hands, his voice cracking as he whispered, "Dad." The room held its breath. The unopened envelopes sat heavy on the table, their edges curled, stamps faded like bruises from another lifetime. The ballroom had gone so still that even the chandeliers seemed to hum in the silence. Ethan stared down at them as if they might shatter his world, and deep down, he knew they already had. He picked up the top letter, tearing the seal with shaky fingers. His eyes scanned the first line, and his throat closed. "Ethan, my boy, I hope this letter reaches you. I don't blame you for the silence. I know your mother made sure I was erased from your life. But you are my son, no matter how many walls they build between us." The words blurred as his eyes filled. His hand trembled so violently that he dropped the paper onto the mahogany table. Guests shifted uneasily, torn between pity and discomfort. Maya's voice broke the silence. "I was 6 when he started writing. 7 when he stopped hoping. He told me one day you'd come back, that blood doesn't forget." She swallowed hard. "But you never did." Sloane stood abruptly, her veil trembling. "This is ridiculous. This woman is clearly manipulating you, Ethan. We're in the middle of a wedding." Her voice cracked through the room like breaking glass. Maya didn't flinch. "You think I came here for spectacle? For money? I came because I had nowhere else to go after the man who raised me died." She held Ethan's gaze, unwavering. "I came because I needed work. And I ended up being struck by my own blood." Ethan's face crumpled. "I hit my own family." Sloane's jaw tightened. "No. Don't you dare fall for this. She's nothing but baggage. Do you hear me, Ethan? Baggage." From the back, a guest's voice rang out, sharp, raw, and unafraid. "No. She's blood. You're the baggage." The murmur swelled into applause from a few brave hands, the sound bouncing strangely in the cavernous hall. Ethan gripped the unopened stack of letters, his heart pounding. For the first time in his adult life, he looked small inside his $1,000 suit. Maya's chin lifted. "I didn't come to take anything. I came to give him back to you. The man you forgot. The man who never forgot you." Ethan pressed the letters against his chest, choking back a sob, the weight of years collapsing over him. But Vivian's voice, sharp as a knife, sliced the room in two. "This wedding will continue. Or I'll see to it that the Harrington family never acknowledges a Caldwell again." The crowd gasped. All eyes swung back to Ethan. His decision, his silence, his next words, would decide everything. Ethan's pulse thundered as the weight of his mother's words echoed in their hall. This wedding will continue. Guests shifted, torn between scandal and sympathy, phones discreetly raised to capture every trembling second. The Harrington name hung like a crown above the room, gleaming yet poisonous. Vivian's glare sliced toward Meyer. "You've had your say. Now leave. This is a wedding, not a charity auction." Her voice was velvet over steel. But Maya didn't move. She clutched the blood-stained napkin in her palm, her voice calm but unwavering. "You want me gone because I remind you of what you buried. Of the brother you erased. Of the letters you hid from your son. Vivian's composure cracked, her jaw tightening. How dare you? Mother. Ethan's voice broke through, rough, desperate. He looked straight at her. Did you hide his letters? Did you keep him from me? The silence that followed was heavier than the chandeliers above. Vivian's eyes flickered, just once, betraying the truth. That flicker was enough. Ethan staggered as if struck. All these years. I thought he abandoned me. Sloane stepped in, veil trembling, anger simmering in her porcelain face. Ethan, listen to yourself. This woman has spun a story. Do you want to throw away your future, for her? She gestured at Maya with disgust. For a waitress. Maya's voice cut clean. For family. The words landed like a verdict. Guests gasped. Some murmured in agreement, others whispered of scandal, of the Harringtons' fury. Ethan looked at Maya, her face bruised, her hands cut, her eyes steady. Then at Sloane, cold, furious, clutching a glass of champagne like a weapon. And finally at Vivian, his mother, the woman who had built his world out of silence and lies. I don't know what future I want anymore, he whispered. But I know this, he turned toward Maya, his voice breaking. I know I can't keep pretending you don't exist. Sloane's glass shattered on the floor. You're ruining everything, she screamed. Vivian's pearl necklace shook against her throat. Ethan Caldwell, if you walk away from this wedding, you walk away from everything I built for you. Ethan's chest rose and fell like a man standing on the edge of a cliff. His eyes burned. His hands clutched the unopened letters like lifelines. For the first time in his life, Ethan realized the choice wasn't between wealth and love. It was between truth and the lie that had raised him. He opened his mouth, ready to decide. And then Maya pulled one last object from her apron. An envelope, newer, sealed in wax, Leonard Caldwell's handwriting on the front. The room leaned forward as one. The wax seal cracked with a soft snap that seemed louder than the gasps echoing across the ballroom. Ethan unfolded the paper slowly, as though it might disintegrate under his touch. His lips moved as his eyes traced the words, but no sound came until he cleared his throat, trembling. My boy, if this letter reaches you, it means I'm gone. I don't know if you'll ever forgive me for the silence that wasn't mine to choose. But I need you to know. I never stopped loving you. Not a day. Not a breath. The room hushed. Even the waitstaff stood still, trays suspended. Ethan's voice cracked as he continued. This world will tell you blood is a curse if it doesn't look the way they expect. Don't let them tell you that. Don't let them erase what you know is true. Family is not perfect, Ethan, but it is real. Maya is yours, as much as you were always mine. If you remember me at all, remember this, don't let shame make you small. Stand tall, and claim her. Ethan's voice broke. He pressed the letter against his chest, fighting tears. Maya stood motionless, her own breath ragged, tears streaking but her chin lifted high. The crowd was no longer whispering. They were crying. Strangers dabbed at their eyes. A groomsman dropped his phone, no longer able to record. Vivian stepped forward, fury trembling beneath her elegant mask. Enough. You've made a spectacle. But this, she jabbed a manicured finger at the letter, is nothing but sentiment. Paper can't change the truth. She is nothing. Do you hear me? Nothing. Ethan rounded on her, his voice raw. No, mother. She's everything you tried to take from me. And I won't let you erase her like you erased him. Sloane's face flushed crimson. Are you seriously considering throwing away the Harrington fortune, our future, for this maid? Ethan turned to Maya, his breath shaking. You said you didn't come for money. So why now? Why show up at this wedding? Maya's voice trembled, but her eyes blazed. Because after he died, a lawyer found me. He gave me this letter. And another envelope. My grandfather, your father, left something behind. Something he wanted you to see. She reached into her satchel and placed a thick manila folder on the table. The wax seal shimmered under the ballroom lights. Ethan stared, torn between fear and hope. He reached for it with trembling hands. The Harringtons stiffened. The crowd surged closer. What was inside would not just decide the wedding. It would decide the Caldwell name itself. Ethan slid his finger beneath the wax seal and pulled the envelope open. The ballroom seemed to lean with him, every jeweled earring and cufflink glinting like watchful eyes. Inside, folded with care, were legal documents, titles, share certificates, signatures in bold ink. He read the first page, and his jaw dropped. This can't be. Sloane snapped her fingers toward him. What is it? Ethan's hands shook as he held the paper high, his voice trembling. He owns shares. 11% in Harrington Hotels International. Under a private name. For 20 years. Gasps exploded across the room. A guest nearly dropped her champagne. The whispers surged, 11%. Enough to vote on the board. How's that possible? Vivian's face drained of color. Impossible. Leonard was nothing. He scrubbed kitchens, not boardrooms. Meyer stepped forward, her voice rising with quiet force. He invested. Every paycheck, every overtime shift, every dollar saved went into this. A friend in finance helped him hide it under a private trust so your family couldn't erase him again. And when he died, it passed to me. Ethan clutched the folder, his heart pounding. He never told me. Meyer's eyes glistened. He tried. Those letters you never read. Some of them explained everything. But they were buried, like him. Vivian staggered back, her pearls trembling against her collarbone. No. No, this changes nothing. Sloane's shrill laugh cracked the air. Oh, it changes everything. Don't you see, Vivian? She's not just some waitress. She's a shareholder. She has power. Meyer's gaze swept the room, calm and unyielding. I didn't ask for this. I only wanted to be remembered. But Leonard made sure I'd never be erased again. Not by you. Not by anyone. The crowd erupted, phones up, whispers turning into gasps, the Harrington wedding now a battlefield of legacy and truth. Ethan's voice cut through the storm. This isn't just about money. This is about the man who raised you, Meyer. About the father I lost. About the truth I buried. Meyer's voice softened, breaking at the edges. Then tell me, Ethan. Do you remember him now? Ethan pressed the folder to his chest. His tears fell freely, his voice hoarse. I do. But Vivian, trembling with rage, hissed the words that sliced the room like glass. If you claim her, you are no son of mine. The entire ballroom froze. The ballroom air was thick, the chandeliers swaying slightly as if even the building itself held its breath. Vivian's words, you are no son of mine, hung like a curse. The guests sat frozen, torn between pity and horror. Ethan's throat tightened, a boy again in his mother's shadow, but this time he didn't bow his head. He stared at her, his voice raw. You've spent my whole life controlling me with silence and shame. But you can't erase blood. Not anymore. Vivian's hand trembled on her pearls. I built this for you. Every gala, every handshake, every seat at the table, it was all so you'd never crawl like him. And now you throw it away for her. Meyer spoke, calm but steady, her bruised cheek burning under the ballroom lights. He never crawled. He stood taller than any of you because he chose love over fear. The crowd murmured, emotion rolling like a tide. Sloane's voice cut sharp as ice. Enough of this sob story. Ethan, look at me. You and I, we are power. Together. Harrington and Caldwell. If you walk away from this marriage, you'll lose everything. The board, the inheritance, the respect. And for what? A maid with a bruised face and some dusty shares. Ethan looked at her, at the diamond tiara gleaming, the gown stitched with secrets, the cold fury in her eyes. His chest rose and fell, but his voice was steady. For family. For truth. For the man who raised her, and who should have raised me. Sloane's face twisted, the mask cracking. She hurled her bouquet at Meyer, roses scattering across the marble floor. Then you can rot with her. Gasps shot through the guests. A bridesmaid shrieked. The pianist slammed his hands onto the keys by accident, a discordant crash echoing. Ethan stepped between them, his voice thunderous. Touch her again, and you'll regret it. Vivian's voice dripped venom. You're destroying everything. Do you know what the papers will say tomorrow? The scandal. The shame. Maya's eyes shone with tears, but her chin lifted high. The truth doesn't bring shame. It brings freedom. The ballroom erupted, half the guests applauding, others whispering of ruined fortunes and broken alliances. Ethan turned to the manager. His voice was final. The wedding is over. Vivian staggered, Sloane screamed, and the chandeliers trembled with the roar of the crowd. But Maya stood still, the blooded napkin pressed to her palm, dignity wrapped around her like armor. And for the first time in his life, Ethan Caldwell chose truth over empire. Maya leaned against a brick wall, her palm still wrapped in the blooded napkin. Her voice was soft. You didn't have to do that. You didn't have to choose me. Ethan shook his head, eyes wet. I didn't choose you. I chose the truth. I chose him. He pressed Leonard's final letter against his chest. For the first time, I feel like I'm not living a lie. Maya swallowed hard, her own tears breaking loose. He would have been proud of you. For a long moment, they stood in silence, the city buzzing around them. The scandal was spreading, the Harrington dynasty was cracking, and the Caldwell name had just been rewritten. But in that quiet alley, beneath the hum of neon and the echo of distant sirens, family, not empire, finally came first. The next morning, the Caldwell Tower rose above the city like a fortress of glass and steel. On the top floor, in the cavernous boardroom with floor-to-ceiling windows, 12 executives in tailored suits shifted uneasily around the mahogany table. They weren't gathered for celebration, they were gathered for war. Ethan entered first, his tuxedo gone, replaced by a dark suit. His jaw was set, but the sleepless night showed in the shadows under his eyes. At his side walked Maya, in a borrowed navy dress, her cheek still bruised, her palm wrapped neatly in gauze. She looked out of place among the polished wood and crystal decanters, but her posture carried dignity, her presence undeniable. The chairman of the board, Harold Pennington, cleared his throat. Ethan, the Harrington family has already contacted us. They are calling for your resignation. They claim last night's events have disgraced the Caldwell name. Ethan's hand tightened on Leonard's folder. The Caldwell name was disgraced when my father was erased. Last night didn't disgrace us, it revealed us. A murmur rippled across the room. Some execs nodded subtly, others exchanged cold, calculating looks. Harold's gaze slid to Meyer. And this is... Ethan's voice was steady. This is Maya Caldwell. My cousin. Leonard Caldwell's granddaughter. And, he dropped the folder on the table, the papers fanning out like a storm, an 11% shareholder in this company. Gasps filled the room. One woman, Gloria Chen, CFO, leaned forward sharply. Shareholder? That gives her voting rights. Maya spoke for the first time, her voice calm, cutting through the noise. I didn't ask for power. But Leonard made sure I'd have it. And I won't let anyone erase him again. An executive scoffed. You think we'll accept a waitress at this table? Meyer met his eyes without flinching. I'm not asking for your acceptance. The papers speak for themselves. Ethan placed a hand on the folder. We're done hiding. Meyer has a seat here. And so does the truth. The boardroom erupted, half in outrage, half in stunned silence. For decades, the Caldwell legacy had been written in wealth, silence, and shame. In one morning, it had been rewritten in blood, truth, and defiance. And as Meyer sat in the chair beside Ethan, she whispered so only he could hear, "This is what he wanted, for us to stand here together." Ethan's throat tightened. "Then that's what we'll do." The heavy boardroom doors creaked open. All heads turned as Vivian Caldwell swept in, pearls glinting, fury sharpened to a blade. She didn't sit, she stood at the head of the table, a matriarch ready to burn her dynasty to save it. "You've embarrassed this family," she hissed, eyes locked on Ethan. "First at the altar, now in this boardroom. Do you know what the Harringtons are saying? Do you know what the press is printing? A maid claims Caldwell blood and suddenly you parade her as a queen." Maya's jaw clenched, but she stayed silent, her dignity a shield. Ethan rose slowly. "She doesn't claim anything. She is Caldwell blood. My father's blood. My blood. You can't erase her, Mother, not anymore." Vivian's hand slammed onto the table. "If you side with her, you lose everything I built. The Harrington alliance. The board's trust. The empire." Ethan's voice broke, but it carried like thunder. "Then let it burn. Because what you built wasn't an empire, it was a lie. And I won't live in it another second." The room erupted with whispers, but Ethan's words cut above them. "From this day forward, Meyer Caldwell holds her rightful seat. And he turned to his cousin, his voice softening, stand with her. With family. With truth." Vivian's face went white, her power crumbling as the board turned, some nodding, some whispering of votes, of shifting tides. For the first time, she looked small. Maya finally spoke, her voice trembling but fierce. "Leonard Caldwell was erased because he loved the wrong woman. I won't let his granddaughter be erased because she was born the wrong color. This company carries his name. From now on, it carries his legacy." Applause broke, first from Gloria Chen, then from others around the table. Even Harold Pennington bowed his head. "Then let it be written. The Caldwell board recognizes Meyer Caldwell." Vivian staggered back, defeated, her pearls rattling like loose bones. She turned on Ethan one last time. "You've destroyed us." Ethan's eyes burned. "No, Mother. For the first time, we're whole." Vivian stormed out, her heels clicking like a funeral march. The doors slammed shut behind her. Meyer sat back, tears slipping down her cheek. Ethan reached across the table, taking her hand gently in his. For the first time in decades, the Caldwell name didn't feel like a chain. That night, Meyer walked alone past the old brick building where Leonard once lived. A photograph taped to the rusted gate fluttered in the wind, the same photo of Leonard and Meyer, framed in gold tape. Beneath it, scrawled words read, "Remember where you come from. Never forget who fought for you." Meyer smiled through tears. "We did it, Grandpa. You brought us back." The city lights glowed around her, but it was the truth, the blood, the love, the legacy, that lit her way forward. If you love this story and would want to listen to the next episode, please comment next in the comment section, and hit the subscribe button, and turn on the notification bell to get notified when the next video drops. Thank you.